Good morning. Thank you for attending today. As you may know, the EPS Firearms Investigation Unit has been assisting with the shooting offenses related to Project Gaslight, the police investigation into the ongoing extortions of home builders in Edmonton. In particular, we have now linked 3 drive-by shooting events to the same suspect. The first shooting on December 21st took place here in Edmonton, in Cybecker, where shots were fired at a residence occupied by a family of 6, including 2 children. The shots were fired directly at a bedroom window where the homeowners were sleeping. It was a miracle no one was struck. The second, on Christmas Eve, took place in Winnipeg, and we have surveillance video of this event. As you can see, a black SUV approaches the home and a volley of shots are fired directly at the residence, which was occupied by the family at the time. One bullet traveled through a bedroom, barely missing the occupant, passed through a wall and into a second occupied bedroom. Again, it's incredible no one was hurt in this event. In both of these events, the homeowners were extorted and threatened prior to the shooting. The third shooting took place December 29th in Sherwood Park, where shots were fired at an unoccupied home. The homeowners did not receive threats or extortion attempts, and we believe this shooting was directed at the wrong house. The suspect who has been linked to all 3 shootings is 19-year-old Arjun Sanan, who is now wanted on Canada-wide warrants. After the Edmonton shooting, Sanan is allegedly to have booked a flight to India, committed the Winnipeg and Sherwood Park shootings, and then fled the country. As far as we know, he is now in India. I strongly urge him to come back to Canada to face his charges. Regardless of whether he complies, we know who he is, and fleeing to another country will not stop us from attempting to locate him. We are working with our federal and international counterparts, and we will continue to investigate and make arrests. Before I conclude, I want to provide a quick update on a January 18th news release we did on this file. In that release, we were seeking information about a suspect vehicle in a January 10th drive-by shooting at a Cybecker residence. That vehicle has since been identified, and on April 24th, FIU executed search warrants on the suspect's vehicle and residence and arrested one individual in connection to that January 10th shooting. The firearm used in that shooting is still outstanding, and FIU investigators are working to locate it. What's so surprising about this investigation is that we're seeing young men being used as pawns for the financial gain for someone else in another country. These individuals are committing foolish crimes and endangering the lives of innocent people, and they will face those consequences for those actions. Lastly, I want to thank the Winnipeg Police Service, Sherwood Park RCMP General Investigations Section, and Alert for their assistance on this investigations. Thank you, and now I can take your questions.
Hi, Madeline Smith from CBC. Just to be clear, are you alleging that this suspect committed all 3 of those shootings, so the Edmonton, the Sherwood Park, and the Winnipeg?
That is correct.
And what is the connection to the home in Winnipeg to these cases? This is the first we're hearing of incidents in that, in Manitoba, I believe.
Yeah, there's only one event to our knowledge that's connected in this relation to the shooting. Not to give too many details, but we believe the complainant in that has connections to Edmonton and this extortion arson series.
So the complainant in Winnipeg was extorted as well?
No, we believe they have connections to one of the home builders here in Edmonton.
Oh, I see. Thank you.
Yep.
Laura Crow, City News. Why issue a Canada-wide warrant for a suspect you believe is now in India?
Well, we believe we're not sure where this individual, if he does come back into Canada, where he will land or end up in. It's not uncommon for individuals not to come back to the jurisdiction they commit their offenses in. It is common for individuals to find a different place of hiding in Canada. So the Canada-wide warrants are in the fact that if he does decide to come back and land at an airport, we'll be able to execute those warrants.
Are you working with perhaps police forces in India or the government to try to track down this individual?
What I can say right now is I'm going to encourage Arjun to come back and deal with these charges. That being said, if he chooses not to, we will work with our international partners to try to locate him.
Going back to last week when we were all here, the incidents in Edmonton, if we can put this as part of that, we can?
Yes, we can.
Okay, and it was said that the Edmonton incidents aren't linked to any other investigations in Canada. Can you speak then the Winnipeg stuff as much as you can?
Yeah, and at the time, these are ongoing, very fluid investigations. We don't want to give too much information on some of these, but now we have the opportunity to provide that because we were at the point of grounds to arrest this individual. So as part of Project Gaslight, there's many facets and many investigative avenues going on. With my team's firearms investigation unit, we're looking at the shooting offenses. And as you've seen last week, there's a task force looking at the arsons and extortions. So different avenues, different investigative techniques, different information coming in on different investigations. So we can't always disclose everything what's going on in the files.
So the disclosure today is that it is linked to other.
This shooting a series is what's linked, nothing else. Yeah.
And while I'm up here, the images that were released last week, did they have any bearing on what you're releasing today? In other words, did anyone come forward to give you more regarding this suspect as a result of that?
I will say, not to my knowledge, but I will say the community's been very helpful. There is tips continuing to come in to the investigative team, so we're hoping that continues with what we have here.
How did you become aware that he fled the country? Have you been speaking with his parents at all? Because I know that they might be located here in Edmonton, of course.
We have early on spoke to the parents. They did indicate that he had left, but we had other information to suggest that he fled our country. We deal with our CBSA investigators and other international units and people to help us with that. So.
And you're very confident that he's in India, he might not be somewhere else, or?
As of right now, that's what we believe.
The Sherwood Park shooting, was it mistaken identity? Was it just something that had nothing to do with anything? How did that all work?
It's our belief right now that it was the wrong house that was targeted. So these individuals sometimes don't do a very good job of planning out some of these events. And in this case, we believe they just got the wrong house.
How is the Winnipeg home linked to here? Like, were they family members of someone who had been extorted or involved in their business? So, like, are you able to say more about that?
I can't give too many details on. Obviously, we're trying to protect the complainants in some of these events, right? It's tough for sometimes to come forward and be a willing complainant in these investigations. So I can tell you, connected to a home builder in Edmonton, and that's as far as I can go.
And have there been any further incidents of drive-by shootings? It sounds like the most recent one, we're all talking about events in sort of late December, that time frame.
Yeah, and then the January one we released a video on earlier this year was the last event that we have right now.
Where are you in terms of your investigation for the individual orchestrating this in India? Are you any closer to laying charges? Where are you?
I can't really speak on where we're at because the file is still ongoing. What I can say is there is an individual orchestrating and directing young men in our city to carry out these acts. And what I can say is that, in my opinion, they're being exploited to carry out these acts, and someone who is not in this country is benefiting from that. So I think the message is pretty clear. If you're going to commit one of these offenses and you're going to work for this individual, understand the consequences that follow.
I think we might have talked about this before. Is there an extradition agreement between Canada and India or no?
I don't believe so. Again, I can't speak to all that, but we do, in saying that, we do communicate frequently and if we need to with our partners all across the world. So.
I know this individual, I believe, his name was previously released, and he had, I believe it was the case of a traffic stop, and he had some possession charges. Can you tell me more about the circumstances around that and the grounds for stopping him at the time? Because that was when police did interact with him, and he's obviously now fled.
Yeah, you're right. And there was a release on that. He was arrested after these events that took place, and he was charged with firearms offenses It was a patrol, or general patrol stop. He went through the bail hearing process and he was released on bail conditions, and that's all I can provide you right now.
Do you know if there's been any further attempts at recruiting other individuals here in Edmonton from that individual who lives in India?
We don't know that. We've identified some individuals. It's still ongoing. Like I said, very fluid investigation, lots of stuff going on. But no doubt trying, but hopefully these messages and these releases would deter some of these young men from getting involved in this.
And what do you know about how this individual is allegedly making contact with these young men and sort of convincing them to do this, if that's what's taking place? Can you say more about how that is working?
Yeah, I can't get into too many of the details on that. I know in previous releases they've spoke about how that communication has taken place. I know specifically with our individual, we're just dealing with the offenses in front of us. The communication piece will fall to the other part of the task force staff, Sergeant Dave Payton, who spoke last week there.
Any further questions?
The request, maybe. Play it one more time. On screen? Yeah.
Concerning about that video too, and a lot of these other shooting events, is they're purposely targeting master bedrooms where people are occupied, sleeping, kids are in these residences. They don't know who's inside these residences when they start firing rounds at these houses. So very scary, very brazen, and very careless.